football is, one of those sports. I mean, there's some violence in the game. And we unfortunately saw that in an alarming way on Monday night with the life-threatening situation involving Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin. This headline right here. Damar Hamlin of Buffalo Bills in critical condition after collapsing during the NFL game. For anybody that was watching that game, you saw that happen in real time, and I'm sure hearts skipped beats. It was a very chilling moment there. About 9 minutes into the game on Monday night, for those of you who were not watching, Hamlin tackled Bengals receiver T. Higgins after a 13-yard catch. Higgins rammed into Hamlin at full speed, hitting him in the head and chest area. Hamlin quickly stood up, took 2 steps, and collapsed backwards, and his body went limp. This reporting is coming from the New York Times. Further, medical personnel administered CPR and attended to him for 10 minutes as players from both teams were visibly upset, some shedding tears on the sidelines, while others circled together and knelt in prayer. One medical professional appeared to administer an IV. Hamlin was later placed on a stretcher and transported to the hospital. I mean, this was serious business. Now, Hamlin's friend and marketing rep, Jordan Rooney, put out this tweet last night. Let's take a look at this tweet. Update on Damar. His vitals are back to normal and they have put him to sleep to put a breathing tube down his throat. They are currently running tests. We will provide updates as we have them. And so even as we are reporting this, things may have changed, and we're hoping that things are changing for the better. Hamlin is still being treated at the hospital, and we must continue to keep his family lifted up in our prayers. For those of us who do pray or send positive thoughts, there is a vibe there. We want to keep this family lifted. The game was eventually suspended indefinitely, but not until an hour later. More on that soon. Before we go further, I want you to watch this powerful message from former NFL player Ryan Clark.
In this game and in our job as well, we use the cliches. I'm ready to die for this. I'm willing to give my life for this. It's time to go to war. And I think sometimes we use those things so much, we forget that part of living this dream is putting your life at risk. And tonight, we got to see a side of football that is extremely ugly. And this isn't about a football player, right? This is about a human. This is about a brother. This is about a son. This is about a friend. And so the next time I think that we get upset at our favorite fantasy player, or we're upset that the guy on our team doesn't make the play, and we're saying he's worthless, and we're saying you get to make all this money, we should remember that these men are putting their lives on the line to live their dream.
Thank you, Ryan, for that. And look, for me, I watch it, but I'm with him. None of this is more important than a life. It is a game of risk, and people can die. And folks are entertained by this. So we need to check ourselves as Americans. Now, the NFL, it is a gross shame that the league does not feel the same way about these players. It is a gross shame that the so-called owners of these teams, in partnership with the league, continue to put money over the lives of their players' safety. They put money over the lives and the safety of these players time and time again. This was just a chilling reminder of what is already wrapped and weaved into the DNA of the NFL, unfortunately. And the NFL took an hour to decide to call the game off. The league was rightfully criticized for taking so long. Let's put up Bill Sparrow's tweet. It is never too late to do the right thing, but taking an hour to do so was embarrassing, but on point for Roger Goodell and the NFL. And you know what? Bill is absolutely right on that. On top of that, there were reports that the NFL gave players and coaches, I'm trying not to need my fire extinguisher right now. I don't know if Cool Like a Bomb is watching, but I'm trying to be cool, not like a bomb right now. They gave them 5 minutes to prep to return to the field. Did you hear what I just said? But thankfully, they refused. It is a reminder that the NFL has long ignored player safety over profits. Look at this headline. NFL reportedly generated record-setting $11 billion in national revenues last year. This money is their God. It is. And they don't care about these players. These players are just widgets. One goes out, we'll just replace them with another. On something that was so stark and so chilling that happened on Monday, you would think that they would get a clue, but they don't have a clue. Because when this is the way that you operate, this is your MO. You don't just change that overnight. Furthermore, more than 320 former players, including Ken Stabler and Frank Guilford, who have been posthumously diagnosed with CTE. Researchers at Boston University announced in 2019, in a study from 2019 that tackles football players double their risk of developing the worst forms of CTE for each 5.3 years that they play. And you might remember Dr. Bennett Omalu, whose autopsy of former NFL player Mike Webster led to an exposing of the NFL's awful, and I mean awful, handling of concussions and CTE. Let's put this up. When Bennett Omalu discovered evidence of a serious degenerative neurological condition affecting retired American football players, he believed the NFL would welcome his findings and work with him to better protect their stars from this terrible disease. The reality was very different, as he was dismissed, insulted, and ignored by an organization that is not well known for its love of constructive criticism. And you know what? That was more than constructive criticism. What the doctor was saying, he was sounding the alarm. And here is a direct quote from the doctor. I meet with retired football players. Some are well dressed, some are well spoken, but when you talk to them personally, they will admit to you that they are having problems, but they are managing their problems. They have impaired memory. They're having mood problems. I mean, these are some life-altering situations. And I know we got to wrap up, but this is a very important story. And at some point, the American people are going to have to demand better as well. And the best way for us to do that is with our dollars in this case.
Yeah, I thought Nate Burleson had a good take on this over at the CBS Morning Show. And for those of you who don't know, he used to actually play in the NFL. And he basically said that injuries come with the territory. Every NFL player that signs a contract is aware of that risk. But the scary part is that even with the known risk of, say, concussions or broken bones or torn ligaments or whatever, there's always the knowing that whatever injury a player is sustaining, it can be worse. And what happened the other night with Damar Hamlin was the worst. I think it's easy to forget that these players are literally putting their bodies on the line for the sake of their careers, for the sake of our entertainment, and yes, for the sake of somebody else's income. It's a glamorized lifestyle, and it's an incredible accomplishment to play in the NFL. But for everyone watching these games and for everyone making money off of these players, it's easy to take that sacrifice for granted. We know they have access to the best doctors in sports medicine, which is great, but we also know that they are incentivized to get back on the field as soon as possible. And I know all of our thoughts are with Damar and his family, and we wish him a very speedy recovery.
Yeah, we do, and hopefully this situation will change the way the NFL operates. Now, Brian Flores, a now assistant coach for the Steelers, who filed a lawsuit against the league for discrimination after he was denied a head coaching opportunity because of a sham interview process, hit the nail on the head with this take. The NFL is racially segregated and is managed much like a plantation. It's 32 owners, none of whom are Black, profit substantially from the labor of NL players, 70% of whom are Black. The owners watch the games from atop NFL stadiums in their luxury boxes, while their majority Black workforce put their bodies on the line every Sunday, taking vicious hits and suffering debilitating injuries to their bodies and their brains, while the NFL and its owners reap billions of dollars. Thank you, Brian Flores, for not playing with me. Okay, yeah, now I'm throwing my papers, and damn it, I do need my fire extinguisher. This damn point is coming out. Let me tell you something. Okay, to have leagues like this, Brian Flores laid it out. The majority of the labor is black. All of the ownership is white. And they really do not give one fig about what happens to these players. Because if they did, they would have done something a long time ago. They do not care at all. And yes, this is racialized. It is. Because the majority of the players in that league are black. All of the owners are white owners. Black body out there for show on a regular basis. And yes, they do make good money, no doubt about it, but it's not worth their lives. And the NFL can do a lot to put rules in place that soften the blow literally to what happens to these players. They don't care, because guess what? They're just gonna replace them with somebody else. It is very similar, very. Not the same, but very similar. We'll just replace them with somebody else. NFL, get a clue. And to the fans, we need to get a clue too, because this type of behavior should not be acceptable at all. We all complicit in this, each and every one. No clean hands. But the NFL itself and these so-called owners, we over them.